So, friends, just to begin with, each one of us has been endowed with certain capabilities and certain limitations. Each one of us as human being has a very unique way of looking at things, interpreting the things, behaving in certain manner. And George uh, George Wood has very rightly remarked that each one of us is born to win. And when I say each one of us is born to win, that means a winner is characterized by a number of things. If you look at, he's a person or she's a person who's very authentic and genuine in different situations, a person who is self-confident, and the person who can differentiate between the opinion and the facts. He actively listens and values time, whereas he has very uh, I would say, passion for living, and he enjoys life. And then a person, I think, self disciplined, and he's always or she's always having a concern for improving the quality of life. On the other hand, when we say there are people who are losers, they're the people who always wear a mask. They are not genuine. Their behavior is always somewhat which you cannot interpret, and they are not their real selves. Then these are the people who always cry for the past, or they always look for the future. So they are not the ones who are living in the present. And they are the people who repeat mistakes, repeaters, and there is no spontaneity, and their whole life is governed by the expectations of others. So they live up to the expectations of others, maybe parents, maybe brothers, sister, maybe friends and teachers, and so on. And these are the persons who are not able to utilize the intellectual capacity to the maximum. But each one of us can be a winner. And one of the approaches which can help us to understand our own thinking, feeling, and behavior is nothing but transactional analysis, which Dr. Sunil has already said that the term transactional analysis came into being and was initiated by Eric Berne. And this transactional analysis is aimed at, or the what is the purpose of this transactional analysis? The goal is to establish most open and authentic communication between effective and intellectual components of personality. Now, why we say intellectual and effective components of personality? Because our behavior is governed by what we think in a particular situation. At the same time, how do we feel about that particular situation? So when we say affective, it is more concerned with the feeling component. And when we say intellectual, that is the cognitive, the rational self. So when we look at any organization, what does an organization consist of? Organization consists of people, people who are given different roles and responsibilities. But these people work in coordination with each other to achieve the organizational objectives. So when we say the human beings, they need to work in coordination. That means communication and interpersonal relationships, they assume importance. And if we enjoy good interpersonal relationship or cordial interpersonal relationships, and we have very open and authentic communication with each other, then the workplace will be free from conflicts. and people will have very enjoyable workplace where they can contribute to the maximum. And in this session, I'm going to focus on few aspects. If you look at, we'll be dealing with the concept to understand what exactly do we mean by transactional analysis. And as Professor Dutt said, that Byrne has given the concept of ego states, and he referred to three different ego states: parent, adult, and child. So we will try to understand what these ego states consist of, and if the different people who are in a situation they exchange communication, then what kind of transaction results, because different people may operate from different ego states. And then what are these life scripts and drama triangle? And then as a human being, we are not, when we are not in open and authentic communication, we also play psychological games, and we try to achieve certain intended outcomes by playing those psychological games. So we will be looking at what are different types of games, maybe not going into details, but few examples, and then ultimately what are going to be the benefits of transactional analysis. Before I take up this concept, I would like to ask the audience, do you have any understanding of what is this transactional analysis? Anybody who has an understanding, how would you like to interpret this term, transactional analysis? Over to the audience members. If you have any understanding of this concept, transactional analysis, how would you like to interpret? No answers? Yes? Over to the audience members. Or what is a transaction?
Ma'am?
Ji. Ji, ma'am, over to you. Somebody wanted to say something. Over to you, ma'am. Ji.
Yes, Tulsi ma'am. जी तुलसी मैम ट्रांजैक्शनल एनालिसिस में जैसे हम रोल्स डिफरेंट रोल्स जो प्ले करते हैं लाइक पेरेंट्स कभी एडल्ट कभी चाइल्ड एंड लाइक चाइल्ड से भी कभी हम कुछ सीख सकते हैं इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी एवरी टाइम जो पेरेंट्स है दे आर करेक्ट और पेरेंट्स ही जो है किसी चीज के ऊपर समटाइम्स जो चाइल्ड है उसके पास भी अपनी समझ होती है और वो भी आपको कुछ अच्छा आइडिया दे सकता है या कुछ अपनी एक व्यू पॉइंट दे सकता है तो लाइक दिस इज हाउ आई थिंक इट
Ma'am, you
गोज
are
ऑन
trying to relate the roles we play. But transactional analysis is not referring to the roles we play, but the ego state from which we operate. I'll come to that. Anybody else who would like to add here? Yes? Any other interpretation of this? No? Okay. So let's.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Ji.
Ma'am, I think transactional analysis is basically the analysis of the type of communication between the two parties, where the communication will involve the attitude, the ego, the purpose, and when we give weightage to all these things, the analysis of this whole system is transactional analysis.
Okay. Shitakshi ji, thank you so much for absolutely right answer that when we enter into communication and each one of us operate from different ego state, so transactional analysis is nothing but analyzing those transactions and trying to understand from which ego state the people communicate so as to enable them to come to more genuine, open, authentic communication and try to avoid conflicts. Okay, I think there is another person who would like to say something. Or no? Okay. So, well, friends, coming to the concept of transaction analysis, we need to understand two things. That is, what is transaction? Transaction means the exchange that takes place between two individuals. For example, you are at a workplace and you are moving from one room to another and you come across your colleague. You say hi or hello. Now, this is what is referred to as the transaction stimulus. That you are saying certain thing and then you get a response from your colleague. He may say hi or she may say hi, or the person may say, how do you do? Now, this is nothing but a transaction response which you are getting against your transactional stimulus. So the person who initiates the communication, he or she is providing a transaction stimulus, and the person who is responding, receiving that transactional stimulus and responding to that is nothing but a transactional response. And very rightly, Dr. Stakshi had said that it is analysis of those social exchanges that take place between the two individuals to analyze from which ego state or why, what is it that is governing their behavior. So, transactional analysis means simply the analysis of a unit of social exchange. So, the transactional stimulus sent and the transactional response, which another person replies, if you try to break down that and find out what is it that is governing the exchange between the two individuals, that is nothing but transactional analysis. And as the another concept which comes into, because transactional analysis is based upon the assumption of Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytical theory of personality, that childhood experiences, they affect the personality. How we have been parented, how we have been reared, nurtured in our childhood, the initial 5 years, that is very, very important phase of life, and that govern what kind of personality would evolve over a period of time. And when we say ego state, this is nothing but refers to how we think, feel, and behave. And if we show consistent pattern of thinking, feeling, and behaving in different situation, then we can say which particular ego state the person is trying to operate. And it is not that what my friend said initially, Anupamaji, that the roles, no, here it is not the question of role. I may be an adult, but I may behave like a child. A child may behave like a very mature person. Or when we look at the person who's a child, maybe he is acting like a parent, right? Or an adult acting like a parent in a given situation. And we all come across such situations where people behave from different ego states. So ego state is how do you think, how do you feel, and how do you behave in a given situation. And if you're showing consistent pattern of thinking, behaving, and feeling, it is referred to as ego state. And ego states can be categorized into three, as we have seen that there can be parent ego state, the adult ego state, and there is a child ego state. I have only taken these images so that people can remember parent ego, adult ego, and a child ego. But it has nothing to do with the age of a person. As I said, A child may act like a mature person as an adult. He is able to distinguish between opinion and effect. He is going to be very, very logical. An adult may not be logical, may be very fun loving and behave like a child in a given situation, or an adult may act as a parent who's very nurturing for the other person and tries to fulfill the needs of the other individual or provides the kind of empathy or sympathy which is required by another individual in a given situation. So when we say parent ego state, from where we try to get this parent ego state? We try to, this is what life has taught us. That means what my parents, my seniors, my teachers, my elders in the family, they have been telling me about the do's and don'ts, and we get a lot of do's and don'ts in our childhood. Do not be upset, cooperate, do not talk to stranger, go to bed early, always speak truth. So do's and don'ts. And every time as a child, when you try to enter into any activity, there are do's and don'ts coming from the elderly people, parents, seniors, relatives, senior relatives, or teachers, and so on. So, parent ego state consists of all those do's and don'ts, and we try to copy our parental behavior in different situations, how our parents have acted in those situations in our childhood, that is stored and that is recalled and replayed when we interact with the people in a real time. Adult ego state is the one where the person lives in present. He is able to distinguish between the fact and the opinion. He is governed by the logic, the reasoning, and he is able to be very, very rational. So adult, he acts very maturely in given situation. And child ego state, when we say child is governed by pleasure principle, and he is always, that means he is the life what he feels in a given situation. So it is like, it is not what is taught but how you have felt in a given situation. Now say for example, looking at your mom or looking at a teacher in the school, whether you felt happy or whether you felt scared or afraid of a person. Now, this is how you felt in a given situation in your childhood that is also carried over in the life, and that becomes a part of your life. Your apprehension, your fears, they are governed by how did you felt in a given situation in your childhood. So child ego status, all those feeling component, and adult ego status, the present, and the parent ego status, what life has taught you by the elders, by the parents, and so on. So have a quick look what I said, that do's and don'ts, ought and ought notes, experienced through parental conditioning, which we have received, and parent ego state is further classified into two: nurturing parent and the critical parent. Now, nurturing are those who have been very lovable, taking care of the needs of the child, providing positive reinforcement to the children at given time, encouraging them to explore the environment and trying to maximize their potentiality. On the other hand, the critical parents, as we understand, are the ones who have been discouraging their wards. Like a person wants to go for adventure. No, 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 no. Please don't go for adventure. You may hurt yourself if you enter into adventure. Okay. So they don't okay, can I do cycling? No, 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 you may break your leg. Don't do cycling. So they're extra cautious, and I think you are not good, large or big enough to go for cycling. You are not big enough to go for adventure. You cannot, you don't have a height, your height is small, and you cannot scale the heights. Critical parent. Or whatever work or activity the child does, they try to find faults or mistakes in that. So they're the one critical parent. So as a person, as human being, in certain situations we try to act like nurturing parents. In other situations we may act like a critical parent, right? So when we'll come to the transactions, then we'll try to find out how a nurturing parent tries to respond to a given communication, and a critical parent, but you keep in mind the behavior of a nurturing parent and a critical parent. And then we have seen that adult ego state, the person who is rational, who is guided by reasoning, he can differentiate between the opinions and the facts. He's very objective and lives in present. So this is where it is said that people, when they communicate, and they communicate from adult ego state, the transactional stimulus is also from the adult ego state, and the response is also from the adult ego state, then there is open and authentic communication, right? So this ego state is considered to be the most important and valuable or worthwhile ego state. So there are no conflicts, no confusions, or no adverse effect upon the relationship you enjoy with other people. And then there is a child ego state, and you look at that, a child characteristics. A child is very curious one. He would like to see, the child would like to explore the environment. He's very sensitive. He's happy. He's happy. The second moment, the child is weeping because he's very sensitive and somebody has said or shouted at, so he's weeping or crying. So he's a person who's very sensitive to what is coming from the other individual. He's a playful person and very expressive. He can say anything to anyone, right? This is a natural self, but the child ego state can be further classified into three. That is natural child. Natural child is having all the characteristics, being curious, emotional, playful, expressive, and a person who's governed by the pleasure principle. So anything which gives joy, which gives happiness, which gives pleasure to the child, he would like to enter into that kind of activity. Adapted child is one who modifies his behavior as per requirement of the others. Now, see for example, a person, whenever there are guests from outside, normally when I was a child, we were told to go and sit in the room and don't make noise and don't disturb the parents' interaction with the guest. This used to be the rule for the children, and we all abided by. So whenever the guests came into, so we used to be in our rooms, never interacting with the guests, just wishing them, greeting them, and then move to our rooms. Adapted behavior. Then we were told not to ask for things. Adapted behavior. Don't disturb. Adapted. Normal child will not do this. If you feel thirsty, you'll go and ask for water. If you're hungry, you'll ask for something to eat. But adapted child will modify the behavior. Then you have another kind of child ego state which is manipulative child. Now, who is a manipulative child is also referred to as little professor. A person who tries to manipulate the situation and tries to fulfill his demand. Say, for example, you are at the marketplace and there you are, and you would like to buy an ice cream as a child. Who's a manipulative child I'm referring to? So the child wants an ice cream and he asks, Mama, can I have the ice cream? You don't ignore it, you don't pay attention. Second time, the child again say, Mama, can I have? And again, no, 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 you should not. It is too cold. And no, 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 cold. Okay, now the child starts crying at the marketplace. What a person does normally, the parent, what they do, they try to purchase the ice cream and give to the child so that he doesn't create a scene. Now, this child has learned the behavior over the years that if you really want to fulfill your demand, then you can manipulate the situation, start crying, and then the parents will accept that demand and fulfill that demand. So, this child has acquired that manipulative behavior. So, there can be natural child, can be adapted child, and there can be manipulative child. So, what happens when we enter into transactions, the social exchanges or exchange of communication between the two people, different people may try to interact from different ego state. One may be acting from a parent ego state, another may be acting from adult ego state, or the third, if you have another situation, there may be a child and an adult, or an adult and a parent, and so on. So Eric Berne tried to classify these transactions into three different categories. Now, here, when we look at these three transaction strategies, one is complementary transaction, another is crossed transaction, and then the third one is ulterior transactions. Now, when we say complementary transaction, any member of the audience would like to explain how these three differentiate among themselves. What are complementary, what are crossed, and what are ulterior transaction? Anybody who can say yes? Over to the audience members. Any idea what exactly you understand? If you have understood ego states, and we have understood three ego states, then according to you, what could be complementary transactions, what could be crossed transactions, and what could be ulterior transactions? Yes? G. Any answers? Anything?
I
G.
would like to say,
G, ma'am.
ma'am, complementary transaction would be the kind of communication where one person is appreciating or complimenting the other person. To my understanding, that would be the complementary transaction. The ulterior transaction would be, it's like, if I'm trying to understand, I'm just trying to understand, so please
G,
correct
G,
me if I'm
G.
wrong. Like when one person is, I mean, one person is speaking to the other person, and they are in an adult state, and the other person is also taking it in the same state. Like they both are at the same level or the same ego level or the attitude level, and then they are trying to communicate. That is the ulterior transaction. Like, this is what I've understood.
No. I think, chalo, you took the initiative at least to say something. Maybe that we can further clarify. Any other response from the audience? Any other response from the audience? No one. No one would like to try? Jaipal ji, Vani ji, Sneha. Anybody who would like to interact and just what is your interpretation of when I say complementary, crossed, and ulterior transactions? No idea. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. So when look at the example which I'm going to use now. Say for example, we are, oh sorry, here, okay, let's go. Okay. What is time by your watch? And the reply which the person gets is, it is 4:50 p.m. Now let me know from which ego state the question has been posed. Okay? Hello? What is time by your watch? Which ego state, according to you, has posed this question? G? Audience members? क्या हो गया? Adult, isn't it? And the person is getting a response, it is 4:50 p.m. That means the transactional stimulus was sent to adult ego state, and the adult ego state is responding that it is 4:50 p.m. So in this case, the transaction was directed to adult ego state, and the person is getting response from the intended ego state. This kind of transaction is referred to as complementary transaction. Now, for example, when you're working in the institution and you find that the temperatures in the summer are going too high, it is becoming 40, 41, and so on, and you as a warden go to the director or principal of the institute and you would like to put forth the need for air conditioners in the rooms of the students who are staying in the hostel, you are expecting a response from the nurturing parent. As a director, if you get a reply, do you know how much cost it will have? We don't have money to spend on ACs. This kind of a response which is coming from the director, you expected a response from a nurturing parent that he should also understand the need for ACs in the hostel, but instead of that, he became a critical parent and said, do you know how much how much will be the cost of installing ACs? And we don't have so much critical. He tried to give you the limitations rather than understanding the need of the students. Or say, for example, you people have been undertaking research projects and there is a team of 4 members. You talk to another research team member that the number of observations we have made in the experiment, I feel they are inadequate. So the conclusions which we draw on the basis of this cannot be generalized. Now, this is a person who is an adult who is trying to analyze what has been his or her concern with respect to the quality of research and its journalizability. But the response he is expecting from the other person is as an adult who agrees that the number of observations have been inadequate and thus the results cannot be journalized. But if you get a reply, who bothers about the observation, the number of observations? People are not going to make hue and cry, so conclusions will be accepted. Now, this person, rather than providing a transactional response from an adult ego state, is providing a response from the child ego state. It is very childish when you know the limitations of research. Again, then you're making such comments. So the person is expecting a response from adult ego state, and if the response is yes, I do agree, the number is of observation are inadequate and the results cannot be journalized. It's an adult to adult ego state interacting in a given situation. So complementary transactions are if your transaction is getting a response from the intended adult ego state, if you have directed, now say for example, let me take another example. As a teacher, the students are coming to the class making noises, and you tell one student who is creating the disturbance, please take a seat. Or you tell him, be quiet. Now you are trying to give a guideline to a person and he obeys that. So the parent ego state is giving a direction to the child to occupy the seat, and as a normal child, he accepts that, obeys your order, and he sits there. He is responding from a child ego state, right? But for example, if you have asked him to take a seat and he says, ma'am, what is the need for taking a seat? Now, here he is trying to be what? He is not obeying your order and he's trying to manipulate the situation, maybe. So he's not responding from the ego state you have expected him to do that. He is also acting like a critical parent rather than operating from a child ego state. His ego state is now different. He has become critical of the situation. So this happens. So complementary transaction is when the transaction is intended to a particular ego state and you get a response from that ego state, then the transactions are said to be complementary. Now, let's have another example. And now here you can read what I've been saying. Okay. Now we look at another. The research report doesn't fulfill the criteria of random sampling. The findings are not generalizable. Now, this is a comment made by which ego state? The adult ego state. And here you will see the kind of response you are getting from the other team member. Who bothers about sampling? They're going to read findings only. So a childlike behavior has been shown by the other individuals, very childish. You are not able to distinguish. So here you can see that the line of transaction has crossed. Person commented to adult, but the response you are getting is from the child ego state. Now, this kind of transaction is referred to as crossed transaction. Now, for example, if you are not able to find your socks in the morning and you simply pose a question to your wife, where are my socks? You have simply posed this question to your partner as an adult, And the response you're getting is, you always blame me for the missing things. Now, this person is not responding from the transactional ego state to which the message was intended. The person is trying to respond to from a critical parent or a parent ego state and says, why do you always blame me for your missing things? So the person is becoming, or can't you take care of your things? Critical parent. Can't you take care of your socks yourself? Is a critical parent, right? So when the ego state is not the one which is intended, the transactions are referred to as crossed transactions. And then if there are cross transactions, the communication fails. The conflicts arise between the people who are there in a communication situation. So here you can say, what is it? Okay. Now here you are in a meeting and you are posing this question, what is time by your watch? And you are getting a reply, why are you always in a hurry? Which ego state you are getting the reply? Yes, over to the audience members. G. What is time by your watch? Why are you always in a hurry? So here you can see that parent ego state, and here is, why are you always in a hurry? The message is now conveyed to a child, but the question was posed by an adult. So communication fails, right? And there may be conflicts that may arise on account of this. So here you can see another example. See here, what is time by your watch? It is nothing. Let me play for some more time. Here, now you find that a child ego state is responding back to the adult. That means the message is conveyed to the parent. So you are getting a reply from the child. And here it is not adult to adult. Again, this is an example of crossed transaction. Crossed transaction. And if you look at cross transactions, that means if you're not getting the response from the ego state, you have sent your message, intended ego state, then the transactions are referred to as crossed transactions. And the third, now here, just listen to the conversation which I am going to read for you. The wife. Did you notice the lady with those lovely pearls? Husband. Yes, she had some lead around her neck. Wife. Silly. Those must be worth fortune. Husband. Must be. Can you get me a cup of tea? Wife. And imagine her husband is your junior. Husband. Really? And the wife. She got them as a birthday gift from him. Oh, how I adore pearls. Just my idea of a perfect gift. Now, this is a small conversation that has taken place between the husband and wife. Now, my question to the audience is, what was the motive behind the whole conversation? Over to the audience members. Yes. What was the motive behind the whole conversation? Over to the audience members. Are you there with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you have listened to it, What was the motive behind the lady reminding the husband of the diamond necklace which the lady was wearing? क्या था उसका पर्पस?
She too wanted to be loved like in the same manner.
Exactly. She wanted a gift from the husband and she wanted to make him understand if his junior can buy it, why couldn't he? And she would love to wear diamonds. So that means the whole conversation was directed towards forcing the husband to provide a diamond gift to the wife. So there was a hidden motive behind the conversation. So whenever there is a hidden motive behind the conversation, then we say ulterior transaction has taken place. Now, for example, think of your head of the department. He's there sitting in his chamber, and a subordinate comes to the chamber of the head of the department and tries to give praises. And this head of the department is wise enough to find out, and he says, Mr. So and so or Miss So and so, please come to the point. What is it that you want from me? Maybe that person wants a leave, or he wants to leave the office early, or he wants a favor from the, because अब बटरिंग करते हैं ना, बहुत जाके बॉस की हम बटरिंग करनी शुरू कर देते हैं because we have a hidden motive which we want to fulfill. तो मक्खन लगाते हैं. So here you can see that in real life, when we are conversing with people, we do have hidden motives which we would like to fulfill. And if you really want to fulfill that hidden motive, then transactions that result are categorized as the ulterior transactions. Ulterior transactions. Another concept which is involved in transactional analysis is life script. That means there is pre-conscious plan for the life, and from where this pre-conscious plan for the life emerges. This emerges from the responses which we provide to. Now here you can see unconscious life plan decided early in life in response to parental influence. So how our parents have actually nurtured, parented us, that is going to determine how we are going to think, feel, and behave in different situations. And that is where we have been getting positive and negative strokes. So when you say positive, it's very, you can similarly say this is nothing but positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement, which we get when we show certain behavior. So positive means when you have been given recognition, praise, pat on the back, any reward, maybe material reward, monetary reward, when you are given, when you have shown a particular behavior, that's a positive stroke you are getting. And negative are when you are reprimanded for certain act of yours. So you are getting criticism, you are getting punishment, right? Or certain facility is withdrawn by the parent. That is a negative stroke which we have got. So life script is written based on these positive and negative strokes which we get in our life. Now, when we say this transactional analysis, there are different roles we play in given situation, right? Again, it is with respect to a particular situation. And Eric Byrne has said that there are three different types of roles: persecutor, rescuer, and victim. So the person persecutors who's likely to punish or who is creating a situation where he would like to victimize another individual. So the person who is being victimized is referred to as victim. And then there is a third person role which we play in different situations, is that of a rescuer. Now, here you see, this is what he refers to as a drama triangle. That this is where we play roles of persecutor. Now, for example, there is an examination going on. There are more than one invigilator, right? And you come across a student who's likely to cheat you in the examination. Now, the invigilator one acts as a persecutor, goes to the student, tries to involve him in copying case. Other invigilator may act as a rescuer and tries to pacify the persecutor not to go for the harsh punishment to be given to that individual. He is acting like a rescuer. So in life also, we in different situation, sometimes we are the persecutors, other time we are the victims, and maybe in different situation we become rescuers in different situation. Or say there are two colleagues who have entered into a conflict, and one is becoming quite authoritarian and would like to take official action against that other individual, maybe his own subordinate. The third employee within the department may act as a rescuer, and he tries to pacify both of them to resolve the issue and save the victim from the situation, and tries to open communication among them, and maybe also tries to uh, what also tries to build cordial relationships among between these two, persecutor and victim. So this is what is referred to as drama triangle. These concepts, we understand it's not that easy. You require a lot of practice to go in for and identifying who's the persecutor here, who's the victim, and who is acting like a rescuer, and likewise other. Then, in transactional analysis, the another very important aspect is the life positions we adopt in life. And this is where he has come out with four quadrants, and it is based upon whether you feel, I think something is missing here, the outer box. Now you can see on x-axis, oh, life positions are in my, you can adopt a stance, I am okay. Now, when you say I am okay, that means you value the potentiality, the capability, your decision making, and you think that you can contribute something worthwhile. You can solve your problems. You are worth living, right? And you can have a stance, I am not okay. That means you undermine your capabilities and you try to feel inferior to some extent to others. I am not okay. So you can have I am okay stance and you can have I am not okay stance. And likewise, you can have this mindset for others. You are okay. That means you are giving due recognition to the capability, potentiality of others, and you think they are there who are worthwhile, they can contribute, and they are also able to take their own decisions, and they are able to contribute. So, I am okay, and you can have that others are okay, so you are okay. Or you can have a stance, you are not okay. That means you find the other people inferior to you. So you don't consider them at par and always belittle them as far as the different situations are concerned. So thus four quadrants can emerge. This quadrant, which shows I am okay, you are okay, means you get on very well with others. You are able to establish cordial relationships, and you are going to have very open communication, genuine, authentic communication with others. Right? Now, here, say for example, as a teacher, when I go to the class, if I think that my students have 18 years of experience and now they are sitting in my class, so I don't think that they are empty vessels. All have 18 years of experience, and if they have in the third year, then I value whatever they have learned in the previous 2 years, and I think they bring some worthwhile knowledge, skills, and attitude in the class. So I give recognition. I respect their individuality. I do recognize their knowledge, skills, and attitude which they bring to the class, and I respect them. So I am operating from an ego, this life position, that is, I am okay, you are okay. In this case, the teacher and student is going to have very open communication and respect for each other, and thereby they'll have enjoy cordial relation. And if you look at, I am okay, you are not okay. So if you feel that your students are not worth sitting in the class, they don't know anything about the subject, they don't have any previous knowledge, they will not be able to answer anything. What you do normally is assumption hai ye, you are not okay, and you would like to get rid of them and just finish your lecture and would not like to interact with your learners. So I am okay, you are not okay. Or whenever the student would like to supplement whatever you have said, you will not provide that person an opportunity to supplement what you have said. So you would like to get rid of that situation. Or you can move from I'm not okay, you are okay. So that means you find that the other person is better than you. You consider yourself inferior to the other person. So you give him the reins and ask him to take all decisions, solve problems, and decide which direction to go. So here you get away from that individual and you leave everything to that individual. And this situation is I'm not okay, you are not okay. That means you think that both of you are sailing in the same boat. Neither he can change the situation nor you can change the situation. Neither he has the capability nor you have the capability. So जैसे चलता है वैसे चलने दो. So you get nowhere if you have this life position. You are operating from I'm not okay, you are not okay. We're both of the people, they are in this. So this works if you start working, I am okay, you are not okay. If the students have accepted you as such and your position, then things will go on. But the moment the student thinks, I am okay, you are not okay, the problem will arise in the class, right? So as long as the other party is accepting the life position you have provided to them, things will move. But the moment they don't accept that right position and they think they are also okay, I am okay, you are okay, or I am okay, you are not okay. Now the students think they are okay but the teacher is not okay, then the problem is going to arise. Then another very important is that we play psychological games. And the number of games people play, but just to refer to yes, but. Now, say for example, you ask your maybe another colleague. So ask him, okay, this is the curriculum plan, and these are the number of courses to be offered in the session. So, which course would you like to take up? He picks up one or two which he has already been doing it, and you give him, okay, these are new courses which have been added, and each one of us is going to take up course, one or two new courses. So you give him one, he says, no, 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 no. I can do this, but I never studied this paper while I completed my BTech. Yes, but yes, I can do, but then he gives you the reason why can't he do that. Yes, but every time you give him some task, he says, yes, I can do it, but there is a limitation. So he brings in discounts all suggestions. Kick me. So the person is not accepting and trying to provoke the other person. That means he would like to get a rebuff from the other person. Kick me. Now he says, you have a class. Yes, I have a class, but so the person says it is time for you to be in the class. How does it matter if I am 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late? He doesn't leave the place. He says, I think the students are sitting in the class and waiting for you. Let them wait. So this person is kicked me, is provoking another person just to direct him that he should leave that place. This is a person who keeps on accepting everything, says yes to everything, but he never does anything. Harriet. That he is like, I can do this, I can do this. Yes, I'll do that, I do. But when you say you have not done this, I have another work to do. I have another work to do. I have another work to do. He says yes to everything, but he is not able to complete anything. Blemish. A person who tries to blame himself or herself for anything that if there is any failure, any mistake, he puts the blame on himself. मेरी वजह से हो गया. Everything. Wooden leg. A person who tries to focus on the limitation or the handicap. For example, a person is, for example, may not be very good as a communicator. Maybe not English communicator, okay? So when you ask him to write an paragraph, he says, ma'am, you know, I'm not good in English. You prepared this report? No, you know I am not good in this. So I could do that if I had training in English. So he is always focusing on the limitation which he or she is having. So wooden leg. So that becomes, or maybe if you give any task where the height does matter and person is a short stature, oh, मैं तो वैसे ही छोटा हूँ ना. So I am the person who doesn't have the required height. I won't be able to do this task. So he's taking his handicap or limitation as the reason for not accepting the work. Wooden leg. Uproar, the person who only shouts at things. Huh? Now, this is another person who doesn't complete the task, and every time you ask him, then he is saying, see how hard I tried. I put in 14 hours of work, but I could not complete. I did this, I met so many people, but then there are a very limited number of papers for the conference. I wrote so many letters, but I could not. So you see how hard I tried, but I could not, right? So these are few things which I have included here. So life is can be smoother, can be simple if we try to understand what we are doing and we try to remain authentic and genuine. Whatever we have, we try to operate, right? We try to maximize our capabilities rather than taking excuses. So, transactional analysis uh, can be taken as to understand communications, improve upon communication, improve upon the relationship. It can also help in avoiding the conflicts which take place in life, right? So, here some of the benefits which you can see here: transactional analysis, you can understand your own behavior. Now, when you say you can understand your behavior, that means wherever there has been, say, for very pleasant experience you had, with interacting with another person, and you try to find out what happened in that situation, how you had such a beautiful communication with that individual. Maybe you try to analyze what kind of messages were sent, which kind of ego state they were sent, and from which ego state did you respond. The more you remained on the adult ego state, the more authentic the communication was. So you are trying to analyze, or when you try to analyze, then you may also find out that you didn't treat that person with the respect and the recognition that should have gone. So you tried to dominate the scene because you thought that you were better placed, you had better capability. That is, you were operating from a life position, I am okay, rather than I am okay, you are okay. You were operating from I am okay, you are not okay. So that may be the analysis which help you to understand the behavior of the other person, as well as analyze your own behavior and bring improvement in that behavior. Or maybe you, the person who has given an adult and you acted like a critical parent, then the communication failed. That person didn't continue with the communication. So you may come to the conclusion, oh, I think I made a mistake here. I would have listened to him, and keeping in view the facts in view, I would have given the reply to that person who acted from the adult ego state. So the complementary transaction would have taken place and we would have continued with the communication. So that means helps you to understand your own behavior. So, what kind of thinking, what kind of feeling was permeating in that particular situation, and likewise, you can understand the behavior of others also, right? Not only yours, but you can always analyze the behavior of others. And life becomes an open book when you are having awareness about yourself. कहते हैं ना, discovering and fostering. This is one of, when you talk of Johari window, I think most of the people must be familiar with Johari window, that you know, I know. That means there is some part of me which I know and some part of me which others know, right? Likewise, others know, others don't know. They know some part of themselves and they don't know the other part of themselves. Like I know some part of myself, I know, may not be aware of some part of myself. So, open self is the arena which is the larger the arena of open self, the better is the life. कहते हैं ना उसकी जिंदगी तो खुली किताब है. Where he knows his capabilities, he knows his limitation, and others are also equally aware of the capabilities, limitations of that person, and thus authentic communication, open communication is there, and they enjoy cordial relationships because how the person is going to behave, others can predict it with 100% accuracy, right? Open self, open self. You know, others know. That means I know, others know me, right? Then there is another part of yourself. I don't know, others know. That means I'm still unaware of some of my capabilities, but others are, right? That part is, that means you are blind to some of the qualities, some of the characteristics or attributes of yourself. And this blind self can be reduced by accepting feedback from others. That means more open you are to the feedback that is flowing from friends, from elders, from relatives and society and so on, the more you become aware of your capabilities and limitation. So blind self can be reduced by accepting feedback from others. Then there is part of self, which is, you say, is I know, but others don't know. There are many things which we hide from others. Hidden self. So there is a part of yourself which you have never expressed. Maybe your fears, your apprehensions, your desires, your wishes. कहते हैं ना, maybe you would like to be the Prime Minister of India. लेकिन आप बोलते नहीं हो because you think that people would laugh. So you don't say that you would like to be the Prime Minister of India, right? Or you would like to occupy the chair of the director and you don't express this and you keep on preparing for that. Now, this is where you are hidden self. Now, this hidden self area can be reduced by expressing yourself to others. Now, what happens if you express your wishes, your desires to others? They can facilitate the path of reaching that goal. They can provide you assistance, support, guidance, direction, etc. when it is required. But if you don't express, so they cannot offer that kind of support to you. So hidden self area also needs to be minimized. So this can be when you express yourself. And then the fourth part of yourself is, I do not know, others do not know. I am not aware of those things, others are also not aware of those things. So this is unknown self, unknown. That means some of your capabilities or limitations have remained hidden and they have not come to the surface. So what is needed is explore yourself. That means the more you enter into the new ventures, new areas, the more you will explore your capabilities and limitations. Say, for example, if you ask me, can you swim? I say no, because I've never been to the swimming pool. But if you give me an opportunity and I go into the water and then start struggling, I can let you know whether I can swim or I cannot swim. Without going to the swimming pool, I cannot say this. Likewise, if I have not done any task, people have many times they take refuge. They say, I've never done this before. So what happens? You do it now and you will see whether you succeed or fail. And there you may come recognize one of your capability which has remained hidden over the years. So it was not known to you, it was not known to others. So there was unknown self. And likewise, it is said that when we try to increase our awareness and we have equal awareness of others, that means the person with whom we interact, if we know who that person is, what is his capabilities, and then the things are cordial. Relationships are cordial, communication is open, right? So, transactional analysis helps us in understanding oneself, understanding others, and thus increase our awareness. And thereby, if we are having good, thorough understanding of oneself, then we are able to have the authentic, open communication, and we are able to have genuine relationships with others, and we are able to overcome the barriers, which are psychological barriers, which are there. We are able to overcome those psychological barriers, and we are able to dispense, means provide positive strokes to the other individual so that he can change his life scripts also, है ना? So this is all about the basic concepts in the transactional analysis. And transactional analysis is also viewed as, because many people have taken it as improving one's own behavior and improving one's own communication. It is also considered to be one of the theories of personality and therapy, also transaction analysis. There are people who go for in this direction very much, and then they provide intervention at the right point to enable the person to operate from the right ego state and then develop a very healthier life. So they help us to improve our quality of life. So it is seen as a therapy also. So a lot of training is provided to the people. So the people with the psychological background, they can go in for training, deeper training into the transactional analysis. But as a layman, as an individual, as much knowledge I can gain and I can understand and analyze my behavior, that can help me. So thank you very much.